What's going on, guys? Sticks here from the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I'm bringing you a deck centered around Incineroar-GX. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe subscribe. It really does help us out a lot and lets us do more for you guys. And as for the question of the day, Pokemon has been, they've been pretty creative in their starters, final forms types, with the exception of the fire type from gens 3 through 5, but we're just going to pretend that that didn't happen. My question of the day is centered around the fire type lines, and that is, what type combination do you want to see out of a fire starter in the upcoming generations? Because let's be real, Pokemon's going to keep doing generations. Well, not generations in the TCG, but like, they're going to keep coming out with new generations as long as Pokemon has the gigantic fan base that it does. So a Gen 8 is pretty much inevitable. So yeah, the question is, what type combination of a starter of a fire starter would you like to see? And I'm just going to preface my answer by saying that they're never, well, I don't think anyway, they would ever do like a fire grass or a fire water starter, because I don't think they would want to cross types like that, especially with the starters. Yeah, they made Volcanion a fire water, but especially among the starters, I don't think they would ever make something that starts as a fire type have one of the other two types. So I'm just going to throw that out, that I'm not including that in my answer. I would like to see a fire ghost. I think that that would be so cool, because Decidueye, I'll be awesome. I'll be awesome. Wow. I won't be awesome because, that would require being awesome in general. But I'll be honest, Decidueye is awesome. That's what I was going for. Decidueye's whole design type combination, I think that is so cool. Admittedly, its stats leave a little something to be desired, but overall, the concept of a grass ghost is so ridiculously cool. I think Pokemon did an excellent job on that. I would love to see what they would do with a fire ghost starter. Yeah, I know we have the Lampent and Chandelure line, which, they're cool in their own right, but I would especially want to see what they would do with the starter. So yeah, that's my answer. Let me know what type combination of a starter you guys would like to see in the comment section below, and why. I would love to hear what you guys think. But anyway, like I said, deck centered around Incineroar-GX, 250 HP, so incredibly bulky. This thing just has highest HP in the entire game, even tied with Wailord. And then its attacks are pretty interesting. It's not overwhelmingly good, but it is solid. Hustling Strike is the attack that we are centering this deck around. 1 energy for 10, and then this attack does 20 more damage for each of your benched fire Pokemon. That is really, really cool, because with Sky Field, okay, let's say you have Sky Field and then 8 Pokemon on the bench. For a single energy, you're hitting for 170. That is absolutely absurd. Heck, even without Sky Field, if you have a bench full of 5 fire Pokemon, you're hitting for 110 for 1 energy, which is still ridiculous. Especially with Incineroar's bulk, it's not going to go down easily. 1 energy is super easy to power up, and that is where you'll see this whole strategy that this deck is centered around coming into play. Tiger Swing, you're never going to use that. If you put 3 energy on it, that means you're going to be using Burning Slam GX, which does 200, and then your opponent's active Pokemon is now burnt. And honestly, when I first looked at this attack when it was first translated, I thought this GX attack was mediocre, because Burn only had a 50% chance of damaging your opponent. But with Burn's new mechanics, all of a sudden you are guaranteed to do 220 with Burning Slam. That is enough to knock out a bunch of Mega Pokemon. It's enough to knock out certain Pokemon GX. That's 220 is so much better than 200. Like, I can't even emphasize that hard enough. 220 is so much better than 200, which is why Burning Slam GX went from a solid GX attack. 200 for 3 energy is never a bad thing. That is just a very, very, very strong attack. But as a GX attack, it's a delete a Pokemon attack as opposed to a support GX attack. So if you have a delete a Pokemon attack, you want it to be able to one-shot whatever you're trying to take out. And 200 just wasn't really enough in some cases. However, with Burn's new mechanics guaranteeing that you get an extra 20 damage, you're knocking out like Mega Gardevoir, Mega Mewtwo, Pokemon with a Fighting Fury Belt on it, with the exception of Zygarde EX, because that thing hits to 30, which is just a weird number, and it's come in to help it so much, and I like it, but at the same time, it's kind of annoying. But either way, Burning Slam, doing 220 essentially with the burn, is just so good, and that makes Incineroar actually a lot better. If you look at this deck, you'll see that I'm kind of going with a hybrid strategy. I'm not just focusing on getting Incineroar with a bunch of fire Pokemon. I mean, okay, yeah, I technically am, but the rest of the deck has some synergy as well. I'm running a 3-1-3 line of Litten through Incineroar because these are our main attackers. 2 Shaymin for draw support. Not one Volcanion. I'm running 2-2 of Baby Volcanion and Volcanion-EX because in addition to Incineroar, Volcanion will be able to attack as well, and you can also have Volcanion-EX on the bench to be able to steam up, power up Baby Volcanion's attacks, and also attack if you can get it powered up as well, because Power Heater you can attach to a Volcanion and an Incineroar. Basically, it's not going all in on Incineroar. It's giving you a backup strategy of being able to attack with Volcanion and potentially Volcanion-EX should Incineroar be too slow to get up or you just get it knocked out as soon as it gets pulled up. It gives you kind of a backup, kind of slow it down, let you get set up type of thing, which is where the Volcanions come into play. And then as for the last fire Pokemon, running 2-2 of Vulpix and Ninetales for the Barrier Shrine. Each player can't play Stadium cards from his or her hand. This card is designed to lock our Sky Field into place so that Incineroar can hit for maximum amounts of damage when you're able to get that thing up and attacking. But yeah, as you can see, we're not running like an overload of fire Pokemon. We are running at most 9 fire Pokemon. So I mean, in an ideal situation, you have Incineroar active and then 8, and then the rest of your 8 fire Pokemon on the bench. That's not going to happen all that much, and so this deck is more centered around being able to hit for good chunks with Incineroar, but also heal it off, have a backup strategy with the Volcanion and Volcanion-EX, and going from there. So it's not all in on Incineroar, it's a hybrid of Incineroar Volcanion, and I really like this version. I actually think this is the best version of Incineroar that there is, but I mean, I could be wrong. I could very well be wrong. That's just my opinion. I think that this version, just from my experience, I think that this version is the best way to run Incineroar. However, if you guys think you found a better version, please let me know. I would love to hear what other versions of Incineroar you guys are having success with. This is just the one I've had the most success with. As for the items, we are running 1-1 of Switch and Escape Rope because, I mean, 3 retreat costs, 2 retreat costs, 3 retreat costs, like, and even Ninetales with a 1 is kind of annoying, but really none of these guys you want to pay the retreat cost with. So in addition to Float Stones, we are also running the Switch and Escape Rope just to get out of dodge, kind of, alright, I started with Volcanion-EX, I really did not want to, so I'm just going to switch on out of there and go into the thing that I actually wanted to attack with. We are also running 2 Level Ball for search because Level Ball gets you Litten and Torracat, and then also Vulpix and Ninetales. So there are enough things to be searched out with Level Ball that it was worth a spot in this deck. 2 Max Potion. Now this has incredible synergy with Incineroar. Hustling Strike does, I mean, for 1 energy you can hit for upwards of 110, 170 damage. And then if your opponent will not be able to one-shot Incineroar. It is very, very, very difficult to be able to one-shot Incineroar minus hitting for weakness, but that's beside the point. But yeah, your opponent basically will not be able to knock out Incineroar in 1 turn, and because you're attacking with 1 energy, the downside of Max Potion, having to discard all energy attached to that Pokemon, is not a big deal. You have, like, say you have 180 damage on Incineroar, but you've just been using Hustling Strike the entire time. Play the Max Potion down, discard the energy, play another energy, and boom, you have a fresh Incineroar out there. And also, I mean, even if you have an Incineroar that is super damaged, you just switch into Volcanion, Max Potion off the damage, attack with Volcanion, and then get the energy right back on Incineroar. So really, Max Potion just has a lot of synergy with Incineroar in this deck, so I'd be doing a disservice to Incineroar to not run that in this deck. I'm also running 2 Rare Candy just to go straight from Litten to Incineroar, 1 Super Rod to, I mean, get back stuff if, like, we overextend, have to discard a bunch of Incineroar with Ultra Ball or Professor Sycamore or something like that. Lets us get those guys back into the deck. And also, if your opponent manages to counter your Stadium, before you're able to get Ninetales down into play. Super Rod's a way of getting them back. 4, Trainers Mail to help with consistency. 4, Ultra Ball to guarantee get whatever we want out. 4, VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. And as for these supporters, you have my general 4-2 line of N and Sycamore. I mean, that's just what I'm comfortable with. That's what I like. 2, Lysandre, because, I mean, Lysandre is Bay, and I've been using Lysandre so much recently. And then the tech supporter card that I'm using in this deck is Brock's Grit, because, once again, if you have a bench full of Pokemon, your opponent counters your stadium or plays like a parallel city, even worse than simply countering your stadium, you're going to lose a lot of Pokemon. Brock's Grit and Super Rod are able to get your Pokemon back into your deck. That way, when you play your Sky Field, you are able to refill your bench to be able to hit for the damage that you want with Incineroar. So yeah, Brock's Grit is the tech that I am running in this deck. Do not run Hex Maniac, because that actually will shut off Barrier Shrine, which allows your opponent to counter your stadium, which is the whole reason you're running Ninetales in the first place, so your opponent is not able to do that. So yeah, don't run Hex Maniac. I would suggest running Brock's Grit, but you can also run Olympia. Olympia is an excellent, excellent choice in this deck. I would highly consider running that as well in place of Brock's Grit if you decide that Brock's Grit isn't for you. As for the tools, we are running 2 Float Stone, free retreat. That's what you want with things with really heavy retreat. It can actually go onto really anything in the deck. I mean, Incineroar, we don't have any other items that we're putting on it, so you can put a Float Stone on there. Volcanion and Volcanion both can get Float Stoned, as well as Vulpix and Shaymin. So really, there's not a bad choice to put a Float Stone on. However, if you had to ask me, gun to my head, what I put a Float Stone on, I usually put it on Ninetales or Volcanion-EX, just because Ninetales you're never going to be attacking with, and it's just there for its ability. And Volcanion, I mean, yes, you can attack with it occasionally, but that 3 retreat cost is just nasty. So yeah, these 2 are generally what I put the Float Stone on, and then only 8 Fire Energy, because really we're only attacking with 1 energy attacks. Yes, I do use Burning Slam, but Hustling Strike and Power Heater are the attacks that I use much more often than not, so those are the main attacks of the deck, which are for 1 energy, which is why I only run 8 Fire Energy. But yeah, that is the deck. I'm done rambling. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Heroe? I don't even know. Hero-Re. I'm just going to call it Hero-Re. There we go. That's a lot better. We do call the coin flip. Do we get to go first? Yes, we do. Based on my opponent's typing of the deck, I'm assuming this is a Gardevoir build, because you saw the Fairy, you saw the Psychic, you saw the Normal, and you saw the Boobity Bop, and I'm sorry. I'm losing it today, but that's beside the point. I'm losing it every day, aren't we all? But I start with a Shaymin. Well, that's lovely. I mean, I don't get a bad hand otherwise, but starting with this Shaymin is kind of the last thing you want to start with. So that's unfortunate. I will be able to get some other stuff out, so that's not too bad. At the same time, I'm not sure if I want to, if I want to Sycamore away a rare candy. I'm probably going to, just because I don't have anything else. But let's Ultra Ball, get rid of a Fire Energy and a Sycamore to grab. Do I want to grab another Shaymin? You know what? Let's just grab a Vulpix just so I can get my evolutions down and start getting those going, and then play the energy onto the Shaymin. That way I can retreat. No. I'm going to play it onto the Litten just in case Shaymin gets knocked out. I can always attach to Shaymin next turn. That way I can retreat next turn. Trainers Mail, grab... Let's grab a rare candy in case I somehow draw into an Incineroar or an Ultra Ball. I get a switch. So I can definitely work with that. And I think for this turn, I'm just going to end my turn right there. And yeah, hopefully I can draw into an Ultra Ball to get an Incineroar next turn. My opponent will be able to get some damage off on my Shaymin with like a Life Leap. And okay, my opponent ends. That is completely fine. I'm okay with this. I didn't like my hand that much anyway. And I mean, I can always get something else that's pretty solid. Well, could be worse. Could be a lot worse. I mean, I don't want to get rid of the Max Potion just because that will be so helpful, because Gardevoir probably won't be able to one-shot an Incineroar. And the fact that I can just Max Potion off, discard the energy, and play an energy back on will be super helpful. So, I don't know. I don't want to discard the Max Potion, but I might have to. I can Ultra Ball away the Switch and the Lysandre. And then I can play the Float Stone onto the Shaymin. That way I keep the Max Potion, play the Fire Energy onto the Litten. That way I can potentially have a GX attack up and ready to go next turn if I need it. So my opponent does decide to get 20 damage onto my Shaymin. I draw a Sky Field. You know what? That works too. Let's go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Sky Field and the Lysandre because we both play Sky Field, so I don't have to worry about my opponent counter stadiuming me. I guess that is totally a verb, just roll with it. I'm going to switch my Shaymin into my Litten, play the Fire Energy onto that guy, hopefully draw into a Rare Candy Incineroar. Play the Float Stone onto the Vulpix. I could Max Potion off the Shaymin, but I think it's better to just Shaymin for 5 cards as opposed to 6. That way I can save it for an Incineroar, and would you look at that? That is just gorgeous. So let's Ultra Ball. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the Max Potion because I need all the other stuff that's in my hand. Ultra Ball, grab an Incineroar, Rare Candy that thing up, evolve the Vulpix into a Ninetales. In case my opponent happens to play another stadium, this way Sky Field is locked into place. And then I can go ahead and just Sycamore, 0 discard Sycamore. Going to go ahead and give myself a Self 5 because I have no friends and there's no one around me. Hopefully I can Trainers Mail into a couple more things, that way it's not just like a 70 energy, whatchamacallit, Hustle Strike or whatever it is. And then Trainers Mail, get nothing, let's just grab an Escape Rope just in case, and, well, unfortunately it's going to be a 50 damage Hustling Strike, there we go. So 50 damage onto the Gardevoir, that's honestly fine, not a big deal. I can Sycamore, get some more cards next turn. I can just Super Rod back in a couple of the good ones, and we can go from there. So I'm in a very good spot. My opponent ends me, that is fine. I had a Sycamore just in case, but you know what? I'll take a fresh hand of 6 any day, hopefully get some more basic Pokemon. There we go, that's what I'm talking about. And my opponent does just Fairy Drop the Gardevoir, but this is where the new burn mechanics are going to come in. He will Despair Ray, get some good damage onto my Incineroar, but with Burn's new mechanics, I will be able to actually one-shot this Gardevoir with a, with whatever Incineroar's GX attack is. I don't, honestly, I don't remember all the names. There are too many names. It's all the same, only the names will change. Sorry, I had to throw in a Bon Jovi reference there. Attach the energy, play a Sycamore, have to discard 1, not a big deal. I get a Volcanion. So that's pretty nice. And then there it is, Burning Slam. That's what it is. I wanted to call it Darkest Lariat, but that's not the attack. But either way, burn mechanics. My opponent is no longer burned, but doesn't matter. The damage was done. Was able to knock out that Gardevoir, or that Mega Gardevoir EX, take 2 prizes, and now I'm in a fantastic spot because even if my opponent gets some more damage on me, I can just Max Potion up, discard 3 energy. While that will be painful, that is just fine because, I mean, I can just reattach a regular Fire Energy, play the Max Potion, attach a regular Fire Energy, and then hit a Hustling Strike for some very nice damage. My opponent is just going to Skyla for an Ultra Ball, okay. That makes sense. If my opponent has a Mega Turbo and a regular energy, they will be able to knock me out. But at this point, just going to Dragonite. Probably Dragonite for the Shaymin and the Hoopa. That's a good play. That is a very good play because then my opponent can be more likely to draw into the Mega Turbo and the Mega Gardevoir and the regular energy. My opponent only needs 3 cards to knock me out. So that's kind of unfortunate right there, but at the same time, it's like, well, I mean, I still have some good stuff in my hand. Voice Crack, wow, okay, that's fine. I still have some good stuff in my hand. Worst case scenario, I just attach the Volcanion, play the Fire Energy onto the Volcanion, and then use a Power Heater to get energy onto 2 of the Litten, and then just go from there. So we do see the Mega Gardevoir come down. My opponent is probably going to Shaymin for at least 3 at this point. Yeah, there's the Mega Turbo. So all my opponent needs is a regular energy in order to be able to knock out my Incineroar. So that's a little bit scary, but you know what? It's fine. I will be able to get a Volcanion. Get 20 damage onto the Gardevoir. and then power up 2 Litten in the background, so I will be fine. My opponent plays a Rattata down. I'm not sure why. And then Escape Ropes. Ooh, why is my opponent Escape Roping? Oh, just going into a Rattata, trying to throw it up as death fodder. Well, unfortunately for my opponent, well, first of all, unfortunately for my opponent, I draw into my Torracat, which means I can get another Incineroar up next turn, meaning that even when my opponent knocks out this Incineroar, I will be fine. And then I am going to Max Potion up my Incineroar. All that damage is gone. 3 fire energy in the discard pile, not a big deal. I already used the only attack that I would want the 3 fire energy for. Have 5 in the discard pile, so that's something I need to watch out for. However, I do know that I still have my Super Rod available to me later. Let's Lysandre in the Mega Gardevoir, Level Ball, see if I can get anything. And yeah, the Super Rod is in there, as well as Brock's Grit. So I have ways of getting my energy back into the deck as well as my Pokemon, but it doesn't matter because my opponent just concedes. Incineroar just did way too much damage. My opponent was not able to come back for that, especially once I was able to Max Potion up my Incineroar, just get all that damage my opponent had done. Yes, it was very unfortunate that they couldn't draw into an energy right there, but as you saw, I would have been able to just Volcanion, get energy back onto 2 Littens, and then have an Incineroar up and ready to go very, very quickly after. So a pretty solid first game. Unfortunately, my opponent wasn't able to get much going, but Incineroar was just able to overpower them. And yeah, good first match, but let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against a Darius with a Fighting, Psychic, and Normal deck, so it's could be Passimian. Know that Passimian Mew runs that those deck typings, but interested to see what my opponent is running because it could be a lot of different things. And okay, it's probably Passimian Mew because my opponent let me go first, which I'm really not sure why you would unless you have the ability to attack for a bunch of damage first turn, and it really doesn't make a difference whether you attack first or second turn. So I'm really thinking that this is Passimian Mew, in which case we will actually have a huge advantage because Passimian Mew will not be able to one-shot me, so I can just keep recycling Max Potions, and I'm actually completely wrong. This is Zygarde. Well, so that's interesting, but given my hand, I actually think I'm just going to attach and end the turn, because I can always just rare candy into an Incineroar next turn, play the Sky Field, Sycamore away the rest of my hand, and go from there. I really don't want to Sycamore away the stuff that I have when I have a pretty good start to begin with. And, ooh, even see the Scorched Earth. So if I draw Fire Energy, I might be able to take advantage of that. So we will definitely see my opponent goes for a Kukui. Ooh. That could be kind of... I actually really like the combination of Kukui and Zygarde, because with Zygarde, you have attacks that you can hit for like 1 energy, 2 energy, and 3 energy. And a lot of times you're like, ah, crap, I'm just like 20 energy short on this one. But with Kukui, you can be like, oh, well, here's added damage, and I get a couple cards out of it. So I really like the combination of Kukui and Zygarde. I think that that's an awesome addition by my opponent. And my Volcanion is going to be hit for quite a bit. So that is very unfortunate right now. Hopefully I will be able to take advantage of the Scorched Earth. If not, I'm just going to play my Sky Field. I'm not going to lollygag around. Just going to play my Sky Field. Hopefully get enough fire Pokemon out to hit for good damage. And my opponent... Oh, so this is a... Oh, that makes sense. Got it. Okay. I mean, I knew that my opponent was going to be playing Regirock as soon as I saw the Hoopa, because sometimes you see Zygarde without Regirock. However, if you ever see Hoopa in a Zygarde deck, you immediately know it's going to be with Regirock. So it's really kind of cool. My opponent, first turn, with all the boosts that fighting Pokemon get, he's going to be able to hit me for like 40, 60, 80. He's going to be able to hit me for 90 damage with the Lance Pulse, as we see right there. So that's really cool. So my Volcanion is going to get knocked out in one hit. But, okay, how do I want to play this? I think I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball for a Shaymin, get rid of the Sky Field at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of the Sky Field because I want to try to take advantage of the Scorched Earth while I can, and then potentially draw into the Sky Field later. Let's Rare Candy up into an Incineroar, Shaymin for a bunch more cards, and hopefully get a Fire Energy to take advantage, which I do not. Oh, that is disgusting. I do not want to Sycamore away 3 VS Seekers, so I am just going to go ahead and get some more stuff, and okay, so I can work with this. Let's Ultra Ball, maybe. So here's the thing. Do I want to attach the energy, or do I want to attach the energy, or do I want to Scorched Earth with it? So I think what I'm going to do is grab a Volcanion-EX. Do I want to grab a Litten? I could get 30 more damage with a Steam Up with a Volcanion-EX, but I think the play is go ahead and Litten. First things first, I'm going to... how do I play this? So I could get greedy, and I could go for a Scorched Earth. Or I could Escape Rope into my Incineroar and then attack, but I think the play is to just... Yeah, I'm just going to do that. And then Power Heater, power up my Incineroar and... Well, just my Incineroar because there's only one Fire Energy in the discard pile, but... I should have played the Sky Field. So, my opponent will be able to Cell Storm, knock me out, while also healing damage. Healing the meager 20 damage I got off on the Zygarde, so that's a bit unfortunate right there. And... Actually, Lysandring in the Incineroar. That's interesting. But we see the Scorched Earth come into play. I think... Yeah, Cell Storm will hit me for a ton of damage. 130, that is... Why is everybody hitting me for 130? I just noticed that. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and Escape Rope. Get my opponent's Zygarde out of there. There's nothing that he wants to be able... There's nothing that my opponent wants to bring in. This way I can Max Potion up my Incineroar and then reattach with the Power Heater. So that's kind of what I'm going for right now. I can start attacking with Hustling Strike, hitting for like 90 and stuff like that. But if my opponent keeps Self-Storming, then that's just not going to end well for me. I am going to VS Seeker for a Sycamore, get rid of a Vulpix, and an Ultra Ball, which are both kind of for me, which are things I don't want to necessarily get rid of. I'm going to go ahead and Sky Field. Play down, well, Max Potion up the Incineroar immediately. I mean, I need that guy healthy, and getting an energy in the discard pile is never really a bad thing. Then here's the predicament. Do I want to Steam Up for 50 damage, or do I want to go ahead and attach the energy onto the Incineroar? Because, I mean, if I attach to Incineroar, I can potentially one-shot, well, I can one-shot anything my opponent has on the field, minus the Fighting Fury belted Zygarde. I think the play... Yeah, I think the play is to set this Zygarde up to be knocked out by a Hustling Strike. Go ahead and Power Heater for 50, get energy onto my Incineroar and my Litten. Just start going for those guys. Get those guys powered up. That way I can start hitting with Incineroar later in the game, and of course my opponent gets a Float Stone. So unfortunate right there. He will be able to knock me out with a Lance Pulse. So interesting that he went for that instead of Cell Storm. I mean, there's really no reason to go for one or the other. I mean, it's just kind of how it goes. And I could Lysandre in something of my opponent's, but I think at this point, well, first things first, I'm going to grab the Float Stone, play onto that Volcanion because that thing has 3 retreat cost, which I do not want to pay. I am going to put basic Pokemon back into my deck, not the Ninetales, just because Ninetales doesn't increase the damage. Then I'm going to end because my opponent will be down to 5 cards instead of 7. Meanwhile, I get a fresh hand of 6, which is just fine with me. Let's see, what can I get? Trainers Mail, grab the Sycamore. I think I am going to play the regular fire onto the Litten, maybe. And then Ninetales, lock the Sky Field into play. That way my opponent can't get rid of it with a Scorched Earth and then hit my opponent for 90. My opponent will be able to heal off a good amount of damage with Cell Storm, so be able to get down to 60. But if I'm able to load up my bench with 3 more fire Pokemon, I will be able to take the knockout on this Zygarde while simultaneously powering up my Litten, or my potential next Incineroar, in the background. So there we go. That works out very nicely. I am going to attach a 3rd energy onto Litten. This is getting kind of scary, but then I'm going to Sycamore away, hopefully draw into enough to get... Alright, so here's the thing. Do I want to grab a Litten or do I want to grab a Torracat? Because if I Trainers Mail and get a rare candy, I can immediately get a Litten into an Incineroar. I think at this point I'm just going to Torracat, play my odds, go ahead and evolve it. I'm just playing my odds right there. Go ahead and... Ah, crap. So I grabbed the rare candy. So I definitely... Even if I did have the Torracat in my hand, I really should have just grabbed the Litten, because then I would have been able to knock out his Zygarde. That was a gigantic misplay on my part. I mean, that was huge. Crap. That was very bad play, and I'm getting punished for it, as I should. My opponent will knock out my Torracat. So, I mean, yeah, that was just a big misplay all around, because if I grabbed a Litten, I would have been able to knock out this Zygarde. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't have. I would not have been able to knock out the Zygarde. So, I mean, that's still a problem. But I still made a huge misplay in not powering up my, in playing the Torracat immediately, as opposed to just waiting, holding on to the Torracat, seeing if I draw into the rare candy, and I got punished for it. So, very unfortunate right there. My opponent will be able to knock out my Incineroar because of the Regirox on the bench, so that is very unfortunate. Misplay, huge misplay on my part is costing me. Otherwise, I would have been able to knock out this Zygarde in one hit with a completely fresh, well, not completely fresh. It would have taken, probably would have taken a Lance Pulse. But I mean, I would have been able to knock out this Zygarde, and my opponent would have had no energy on the field. So, yeah, big misplay on my part. I honestly think that's going to cost me the game, because I'm not drawing into my rare candy. And what I think I'm going to do, switch into my Volcanion just so I have that. Steam up to get more damage onto the Zygarde. And then I'm going to hopefully draw into a combination of Incineroar and rare candy, which would allow me to evolve my Torracat, or my Litten. I get neither. That sucks a lot. That really sucks, actually. So what I'm going to do is play the energy onto Litten, just because, I mean, I'm going to have to go for a GX attack in order to be able to win. And then I'm going to Power Heater, start powering up the Volcanion just in case I need to hit for 130 damage later. And power up the Litten as well, because, I mean, again, I'm going to have to go for a GX attack if I want to win this game. Like, I'm going to have to knock out this weakened Zygarde, and then probably knock out a full health Regirock or Hoopa in order to win this game. So my opponent will just Lance Pulse, hit me for 80 damage. That's fine. I get a Sycamore. So what I think I'm going to do is Lysandre in a Regirock, try to buy myself a couple turns to draw into the rare candy plus Incineroar, because, I mean, I can't draw into it now. I can't at all, because, I can't Sycamore. I can draw into it, but I can't Sycamore, because I would just lose the game. So it's kind of a very unfortunate situation that I mean, don't get me wrong. I should not be in this situation. I messed up, and I messed up, made a big misplay that did cost me, I think, the match at this point. I should not have gone for the... I should not have evolved immediately into a Torracat. I should have waited on the Trainers Mail, seen if I would have gotten the rare candy, and then gone from there. So, my opponent gets a Sycamore. So, really, it's just a matter of time before my opponent will take another knockout, because, yeah, of course he gets the Float Stone, because why wouldn't he? Goes into the Zygarde, be able to Lance Pulse me for the knockout, and then just take one prize left. So, I mean, the game's over. I mean, I don't think there's a way for me to win, because, I mean, all my opponent needs is one prize. I have no way of disrupting his hand, so odds are he has a Lysandre to knock out a Vulpix or my Litten on the bench. So, you know what? I lose, but I'm going out in a blaze of glory. I am evolving into my Incineroar, and then just going from there. I'm going to take the knockout on this Zygarde, and who knows, maybe my opponent will screw up as badly as I did and end me to give me a chance to win the game. I'm only going for a Hustling Strike instead of my GX attack, just in the off chance my opponent plays an N. I mean, my opponent shouldn't. My opponent really should just draw and pass, win the game right now because I decked out. But, I mean, hey, if I can screw up this badly, maybe my opponent can as well. Either way, my opponent is just going to power up the Zygarde. I think at this point, okay, yeah, we lose. My opponent plays a Kukui, so my opponent can no longer play an N. I do lose. I'm just going to concede right here. So very unfortunate right there. My big misplay did cost me the match, but you know what? That happens. I mean, I'm not excusing my misplay, because, I mean, that was a very bad one that did cost me the game. But, I mean, it does happen. You just got to own it. Be like, yep, I screwed up. It cost me the game. My opponent took advantage of that and took advantage of the scenario and was able to come away with a win. So good on my opponent for exploiting my misplay as well as he did in order to take the win. But either way, I hope you guys still enjoyed this deck. It's a very fun deck to use. Hitting for over 100 damage for a single energy is so cool, and then being able to max potion up a super bulky Pokemon like Incineroar can really be infuriating for your opponent, denying them prizes, etc. But I hope you guys enjoyed the deck. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.